Hi, my name is Vaneet Mehta and I'm here to talk about Bisexual Men Exist.
Hello, my name is Oliver and I'm a trans guy who make videos about LGBTQIA+ people where they get to talk about anything that they want that somehow relates to them being queer. I was recently on a short trip in London to march in the Trans Pride Parade, and while there I was also honored to be able to sit down and talk with the author of Bisexual Men Exist.
Hi, my name is Vaneet Mehta. I'm an Indian bisexual man born and raised in Southall, which is in West London. I'm a software engineer by day, but outside of that I do stuff within the LGBTQIA+ community, mainly focused around being bisexual and a person of colour. I write and I also give talks and appear on panels and various other things, and I am the author of Bisexual Men Exist.
It was rather difficult for Vaneet to come to terms with his sexuality.
When it comes to bisexuality, I first started having feelings for more than one gender when I was around 10, but bisexual wasn't a word in my vocabulary, so it wasn't a word that I could use because I didn't know about it. And it wasn't until I was 17 that I first heard a word that was even remotely similar. The first word I heard was bicurious at 17. And that was because someone at school came out as bicurious. It felt like a light bulb moment, but it was immediately smashed because everyone dismissed it. Everyone said that she's making it up, she's doing it for attention, that she's just a lesbian, that she should just come out. It was my first experience with what I now know as biphobia and bierasure, where people are dismissive of these kind of identities. So I found ways to deny my attraction, mainly towards men, and decided to identify as straight. So if anyone did ask me, that's what I said. But unfortunately wasn't believed by many because I didn't really align with masculinity in the way that people expect men to do. I didn't speak in a certain way, act in a certain way, and therefore a lot of people assumed I was gay anyway. So I kind of tried to hide that part of myself because I already was experiencing the brunt of homophobia despite not being out. But I knew if I said, well, I have this attraction as well, it would be worse. Yeah, it was something that I constantly felt like I had to deal with and I had to hide. And I found ways to deny it to myself. So I said, well, maybe I just want to be these guys. Maybe I'm jealous of them. Maybe it's just puberty. Maybe it's just hormones. Maybe it's just high school and it's the way it is. And I thought it would go away and it didn't. And then I found other reasons to hide it. I was like, well, maybe it's just sexual attraction, but don't want to actually be intimate with them. I can't be in a relationship with them. I don't want to hold hands with them. And it wasn't until I first had that romantic attraction to a guy that I was like, well, I can't deny this anymore. And so even though I couldn't find validity in bisexuality, it was the only word that made sense. And so I came out as bisexual for the first time when I was around 24.
But even after he came out, it was hard for him to actually accept the fact that he was bi.
It was difficult to embrace it. Like I finally decided to use that term for myself, but I didn't feel confident within that term. I still had this internalized biphobia. I still kept thinking, what if I'm making this up? What if it's not real? What if people don't believe me? How do I tell everyone? What does this mean for the future? Will I be able to date? Will I be able to have relationships? And a lot of that came from the fact that I just didn't see it reflected back at me. I couldn't see anyone who was identified as bisexual. It wasn't in the media. I couldn't see celebrities. I didn't have friends who were in that area. So it wasn't something that I felt like I could actually be long term. That was incredibly difficult. It wasn't until I started connecting with the community, firstly online and then in person, that I started feeling more secure in it. But I don't think that doubt ever really goes away. I'm now in a relationship with a gay man. I'm in a monogamous relationship, and so sometimes I do think, well, actually, does it matter anymore? What if it is something that has gone? What if I am just gay now? Like those thoughts still feel very real to me, and sometimes it can still be difficult to go, yes, this is my identity. There's that doubt sometimes still crops up.
Now he's mentioned biphobia and bi-erasure a couple of times, and here's an explanation of what those terms means if you aren't familiar with them.
Biphobia is the bigotry targeted towards bisexual or pansexual and M-spec, which is multi-gender attracted spectrum people. And one of the biggest things is bi-erasure, which is the erasing of bisexual identities either on an individual level or as an identity as a whole. And they kind of are separate but also interlinked. So a lot of the biphobia and bi-erasure that you hear is stuff like, oh, you're actually just gay, or that's not a real identity. But you also get stuff like, oh, I don't want to date them, they're cheaters, they're promiscuous, they just want to have sex with everyone. There's a lot of myths that bi people have to deal with. And a lot of that plays into other negative ideas. So people have negative ideas of polyamorous relationships. And so people go, oh, all bisexual people are polyamorous, and say that in a negative way because they see polyamorous as a bad thing. People say that bisexual people are slutty or promiscuous because they see being slutty or promiscuous and having sex with lots of people as a negative thing. And so a lot of these things end up being sort of interlinked. So those are some examples of biphobia and bi-erasure. And it's something that I personally have experienced quite a bit, both outside the community and inside it as well.
As a response to all this, Vaneet started the hashtag Bisexual Men Exist.
It all started with a hashtag that I created in 2018. And I created that because of the specific biphobia I was seeing on everyone's favourite website, Twitter. As I'd seeing biphobia targeted specifically towards bisexual men. And normally when I start seeing these negative conversations, I get involved, I start quote tweeting people, I start correcting people, and I just didn't really want to get wrapped up in all of that this time. I found the conversation kind of upsetting, and I really just wanted to have a moment of positivity rather than just spending my whole evening fighting all of these negative ideas. And so instead of trying to fight the conversation, I decided to override the conversation with something else. So I created a hashtag. It was just a moment for all the bisexual men that I did know online to really just share themselves, to come out and say, hey, I'm a bisexual man, I exist, I'm proud, and also try and connect with other people, because not everyone will have the same connections that I did. It may reach new people and they can connect with other people. And also was hoping that if there was anyone who was looking at this who felt isolated or alone, maybe they were seeing a negative conversation and felt like they couldn't exist, to see other bisexual men existing and being proud would help them override all the negativity that may be going on inside. I brought that back in 2019 for a similar reason. There was a Twitter poll going around where people were asking women to say whether they would date a bisexual man. Most people voted no. There was a bunch of negative comments underneath that were very vile and disgusting and crude. And so I really wanted to override that conversation again. And that trended worldwide. It got picked up by Stonewall, Human Rights Campaign, GLAAD. It picked up by so many queer organizations. And I saw that there was a real need for that conversation. Bisexual men were sharing the hashtag and talking about how they didn't feel connected to a community until now, or they were meeting bisexual men, which they often didn't get to, that they felt visible in the way they never had. Some of them came out with the hashtag. So I really wanted to create that conversation. Bisexual people in general don't often get the platform, bisexual men even less so. So I really wanted to be the catalyst to try and make that conversation happen. It's happened in forms in the past, but I wanted to help push that forward again in a more modern day, because some of the stuff is years old.
And the hashtag led him to write a book with the same name.
I created the book as an extension of all of that to really try and showcase and highlight the issue. Bisexual Men Exist is the title, but that's really the start of the conversation. It's accepting that when you go into it, and as the conversation goes through the book, it's really talking about, well, why do bisexual men have a hard time existing? Why can't they come out? What are the problems in coming out? What are the issues that they're experiencing? Trying to show the structures that impact us, and also showcase lived experiences throughout that, because I think while statistics are really useful in terms of showing the wider issue, having lived experiences help ground it. It helps you bring empathy to the book. It helps you relate to an individual, to understand it on an individual level in a way that a statistic can't.
And the book seems to be important to people.
The response has been really positive with the book. I've had bisexual men reach out to me and say similar things to me that they said during the hashtag, but further than just I feel visible, but I felt like I could relate to it. I felt less alone. I felt like you spoke to all of my experiences. Is the stuff that I've been hearing. It's been really, really lovely to see. I went to various bookshops and did events, and I signed books and stuff, and I've met bookshop sellers who said that for the first time they could point to a book. So when bisexual men are coming to them and going, is there anything for me on your shelves? I've just come out. They could point to an actual book specifically for them. So I think it seems like it's made quite an impact. It's been quite powerful. And it's just always really heartwarming to see that it's helping someone. I always say that when it comes to my work, if it helps one person feel less alone, if it helps one person understand themselves better, I've done my job, and I've had multiple people say that. So I think the book has done its job.
Vaneet hopes that the book will continue to be spread and read.
I just hope that the book keeps going. It's not just for bisexual men, it is also for allies, both outside and inside the LGBTQIA+ community. And so I do hope that people read it and learn from it and understand our lived experiences. A lot of people think that we may have it easier, or they think that our experiences are the same as gay men. And I think the thing that I really wanted to drive home with the book is that neither one of those are true, that there are unique experiences in there that cause a really detrimental impact to our health, both our mental health and sexual health, physical health. And so I really wanted to showcase that, and so I really hope that allies also read it and understand our lived experiences, and then that galvanizes them to do the work to educate others, to help the community, to support us, donate money, resources, time, whatever they can, to make sure that bisexual men don't constantly have to deal with this issue.
Lastly, some words to you if you are a bisexual man watching.
So if you're a bisexual man who's watching this, I would say that you're not alone, that we are all here, that there is a community here for you. You can find us online, you can find us in person, do a search, I'm sure you'll find a group near you. We've all gone through this similar things, so you're not alone in your experiences, you're not suffering alone, and we're here to help you and support you and uplift you.
If you enjoyed watching that video, please like, comment, subscribe and share the video. I really appreciate you showing your love in that way. If you also want to support the channel financially, that's possible via Patreon, but really no pressure. See you next time.